Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, good morning everyone. Today we are going to discuss about synthetic forms, grammatical function, and semantic rules. But firstly, I would like to introduce my team. I am Istiana Ilasul Amalia and my team are Friska Dwi Amelia, Hasria Maharun Sarapil, and the last is Krasnaya Cahyaning Tias. The first material is syntactic forms, will be presented by Friska.
Syntactic categories include noun, adjective, verb, preposition, noun phrase, verb phrase, adjective phrase. Grammatical function include subject, object, modifier, predicate. The notions such as subject, object, and predicate represent the grammatical function each constituent placed in the given sentence. For example, the monkey scratched a boy on Monday. As shown here, the monkey is a noun phrase in terms of its syntactic form, but is the subject in terms of its grammatical function. The noun phrase a boy is the object, while the verb scratch functions as a predicator. On Monday is a preposition phrase in terms of its syntactic category, but serves a modifier here. Semantic rules. Constituent can be considered in terms of conceptual notion of semantic rules such as agent, patient, location, instrument, and the like. A semantic rule denotes the underlying relationship that a participant has with the relation of the clause expressed by the main verb. For example, John took the monkey in the forest. The monkey was taken in the forest by John. Both of these sentences describe a situation in which someone named John took a particular monkey. In this situation, John is the agent and the monkey is the patient of the taking event. In both cases, John has the semantic role of agent, whereas the monkey has the semantic role of patient. As noted here, in addition to agent and patient, we have predicate and locative, which also express the semantic roles that each phrase performs in the described situation. Grammatical function. Several tests can be used to determine grammatical function. The first one is subject. For example, the cat devoured the rat devoured the cat. These two sentences have exactly the same words and have the same predicator devoured. Yet they are significantly different in meaning, and the main difference comes from what serves as subject or object with respect to the predicator. In point A, the subject is the cat, whereas in point B, it is the rat, and the object is the rat in point A, but the cat in point B. More reliable tests for subjecthood come from syntactic tests such as agreement, tag question, and subject auxiliary inversion. Agreement. The main verb of a sentence agree with the subject in English. For example, she never writes home. This book saddened me. Our neighbor takes his children to school in his car. Simply being closer to the main verb doesn't entail subjecthood. For examples, the book including the chapter in the first section is very interesting. The effectiveness of teaching and learning depends on several factors. The tornadoes that tear through this country every spring are more than just a nuisance. The subject in its examples is book, effectiveness, and tornadoes respectively, even though they are known closer to the main verb. This indicates that it is not simply the linear position of noun phrase that determines agreement. Rather, agreement shows us what the subject of the sentence is. Tag question. A short question tagged until the end of an utterance is also a reliable subjecthood test. For example, the lady singing with a boy is a genius, isn't she? With their teacher, the kids have arrived safely, have not they? The pronoun in the tag question agrees with the subject in person, number, and gender. It refers back to the subject, but not necessarily to the closest noun phrase, nor to the most typical one. The pronoun she in point A shows us that lady is the head of the subject noun phrase in that example, and they in point B leads us to assign the same property to kids. The generalization is that a tag question must contain a pronoun which identifies the subject of the clause to which the tag is attached. Subject auxiliary inversion. In forming question and other sentence type, English has subject auxiliary inversion, which applies only to the subject. For example, A. This teacher is a genius. The kids have arrived safely. It could be more detrimental. B. Is this teacher a genius? Have the kids arrived safely? Could it be more detrimental? As seen here, the formation of yes or no question, such as this, involve the first tense auxiliary verb moving across the subject. More formally, the auxiliary verb is inverted with respect to the subject. Hence, the term subject auxiliary inversion. This is not possible with a non-subject. For example, the kids in our class have arrived safely. Have in our class, the kids arrived safely. Subject auxiliary inversion provide another reliable subjecthood test.
5. Direct and indirect object. A direct object or DO is canonically a noun phrase undergoing the process denoted by the verb. Example: his girlfriend bought this computer. That silly fool broke the teapot. However, this is not a solid generalization. The object in example number 2a and number 2b are not really affected by the action. In example number 2a, the dog is experiencing something, and in number 2b, the thunder is somehow causing some feeling in the dog. Example: thunder frightens the dog. The dog fears thunder. Once again, the data shows us that we cannot identify the object based on semantic rules. A much more firm criterion is the syntactic construction of passivization, in which a national direct object appears as subject. The sentence in number 3 can be turned into a passive sentence. Example: his girlfriend bought this computer for him. The passive sentence is: this computer was bought for him by his girlfriend. B. The child broke the teapot by accident. The passive sentence is: the teapot was broken by the child by accident. What we can notice here is that the object in number 3 are promoted to subject in the passive sentence. The test comes from the fact that non-object, non-phrase cannot be promoted to the subject. Example: this item belongs to the student. The student is belonged to by this item. He remained a good friend to me. A good friend is remained to me by him. The objects that undergo passivization are direct object distinct from indirect object. Indirect object or EO is one which precedes a direct object or DO, as in number 1. Indirect objects are noun phrase and have the semantic roles of goal, recipient, or benefactive. Example: I threw the puppy the ball. Indirect object is goal. John gave the boys the CD. Indirect object is recipient. My mother baked me a birthday cake. Indirect object is benefactive. In example like number 1, passive has the property of making the indirect object into the subject. Example: the boys were given the CD by John. The passive sentence is: the boys were given the CD by John. She was sent a review copy of the book by the publisher. The passive sentence is: she was sent a review copy of the book by the publisher. Note that sentence with the indirect object, direct object order are different from those where the semantic role of the indirect object is expressed as an oblique pp. following their object. Such a process is sometimes called dative alternation. Example: John gave the CD to the boys. The publisher sent a review copy of the book to her. My mother baked a cake for me. Predicative complement. There are also noun phrases which follow a verb but which do not behave as do or io. Consider the following sentence. Example: This is my ultimate goal. Michelle became an architect. They elected Graham chairman. I consider Andre the best writer. The italicized elements are traditionally called predicative complement in the sense that they function as the predicate of subject or the object. However, even though they are noun phrase, they do not passive. Example: Chairman was elected Graham. The best writer was considered Andre. The difference between object and predicative complement can also be seen in the following contrast. Example: John made Kim a great doll. John made Kim a great doctor. Even though the italicized expression here about noun phrase, they function differently. The noun phrase a great doll in example A is the direct object and in John made a great doll for Kim, whereas the noun phrase a great doctor in example B cannot be an object. It serves as the predicate of the object Kim. If you think of part of the meaning informally, only in the second example would we say that the final noun phrase describes the noun phrase Kim. Kim in example A is a great doll. Kim in example B is a great doctor. In addition, phrase other than noun phrase can serve as predicative complement. Example A. The situation became terrible. This map is what he wants. The message was that you should come on time. B. I made Kim angry. I consider him immoral. I regard Andre as the best writer. They spoiled their kids rotten. The italicized complement function to predicate a property of the subject in example A and of the object in example B.
Next is oblique complements. An oblique complement is a preposition phrase or an adverb which behave like a complement. Consider now the italicized expression in 1A to D. A. John put books in the bags. B. John talked to Bill about the exam. C. She reminded him of the last time they met. D. They would inform Mary of any success they have made. These italicized expressions are neither objects nor predicative complements. Since their presence is obligatory for syntactic well-formedness, they are called oblique complements. As we have seen before, most the transitive verbs can also take oblique complements. Example A. John gave a book to the student. B. John bought a book for the student. The preposition phrase here, which cannot be objects since they are not noun phrase, also do not serve as predicate of the subject or object. They relate directly to the verb as oblique complements. Now let's talk about modifiers. The function of direct object, indirect object, predicative complement, and oblique complement all have one common property. They are all selected by the verb, and we view them as being present to complement the verb to form a legitimate verb phrase. Hence, these are called complements or comps, and typically they cannot be omitted. Unlike these comps, there are expressions which do not complement the predicate in the same way and which are truly optional. Example A. The bus stopped suddenly. B. Shakespeare wrote his plays a long time ago. C. They went to the theater in London. D. He failed chemistry because he can't understand it. The italicized expressions here are all optional and function as modifiers, also called adjuncts or adverbial expression. These modifiers specify the manner, location, time, or reason among many of other properties of this situation expressed by the given sentences. Informally, they are the how, when, where, and why phrases. One additional characteristic of modifiers is that they can be stacked up, whereas complements cannot. Example A. John gave Tom a book, a record. B. I saw this film several times last year during the summer. As shown here, temporal adjuncts like several times and last year can be repeated, whereas the two complements, a book and a record, in 1A cannot. Of course, temporal adjuncts do not become the subject of a passive sentence, suggesting that they cannot serve as object. The 3A, my uncle visited today. B, today was visited by my uncle. Let's consider to the form and function together. We now can analyze each sentence in terms of grammatical functions as well as the structural constituents. Let us see how can we analyze a simple sentence along these two dimensions. The A, the little cat devoured a mouse. As presented here, the expressions the little cat and the mouse are both noun phrase, but they have different grammatical functions, which is subject and object. The verb phrase as a whole function as the predicate of the sentence describing the property of the subject. The letter B, John believes that the cat devoured a mouse. Each clause has its own subject and predicate. John is the subject of the higher clause, whereas the cat is the subject of the lower clause. We also can notice that there are two objects. The complementizer phrase is the object in the higher clause, whereas the noun phrase is that on the lower clause. Every category in a given sentence has a grammatical function, but there is no one-to-one mapping between categories such as NP or CP and its possible grammatical function. And the following example shows us how different phrase types can function as subject or object. And the first one, form category of the subject. A. The termites destroyed the sand castle. B. Being honest is not an easy task. C. The Champas surprised her. D. To finish this work on time is almost unexpected. E. What John said is questionable. E. Under the bed is a safe place to hide. And the second one is the form category of the object. Here's the example. A. I sent a surprise present to John. B. They wondered what she did yesterday. C. They believed that everybody would pass the test. D. Are you going on holiday before or after Easter? I prefer after Easter. The same goes for modifier. As noted before, not only adverb phrase but also phrases such as NPS, BP, or prepositional phrase can function as modifier. The example: A. The little cat devoured a mouse last night. B. John left very early. C. John has been at Stanford for 4 years. D. John studied hard to pass the exam. E. She disappeared when the main party arrived. The sentence A will have the following structure. The little cat devoured a mouse last night. Here, the expression last night is an adverbial noun phrase in the sentence that it is categorically a noun phrase but functions as a modifier or adjunct to the verb phrase.
Semantic roles. Semantic roles were introduced as a way of classifying the argument of predicates, mostly verbs and adjectives, into a closed set of participant types. The properties of semantic roles do interact in regular ways with certain grammatical construction. An important advantage of having such semantic roles is that it allows us to capture the relationship between two related sentences. Agent, a participant which the meaning of the verb specifies as doing or causing something, possibly intentionally. Examples: subject of eat, kick, hit, hammer, etc. A. John ate his noodle quietly. B. A boy hit the ball. C. A smith hammered the metal. Patient, a participant which the verb characterizes as having something happen to it and as being affected by what happened to it. Examples:
object of kick, hit, hammer, etc. A. A boy hit the ball. B. A smith hammered the metal. Experiencer. A participant who is characterized as aware of something. Examples. Subject of perception, verbs like feel, smell, hear, see, etc. A. The students felt comfortable in the class. B. The students heard a string sound. Theme. A participant which is characterized as changing its position or condition or as being in a state or position. Examples. Direct object of give, hand, subject of come, happen, die, etc. A. John gave a book to the students. B. John died last night. Benefactive. The entity that benefits from the action or event denoted by the predicator. Examples. Oblique complement of make, by, etc. For example, A. John made a doll for his son. B. John bought a lot of books for his sons. Location. The thematic role associated with the noun phrase expressing the location in a sentence with a verb of location. Examples. Subject of keep, on, retain, etc. A. John put his books in the attic. B. The government kept of the money. Instrument. The medium by which the action or event denoted by the predicator is carried out. Examples. Oblique complement of hit, whip, hammer, etc. A. John hit the ball with a bat. B. John whipped the window with a towel. Semantic roles. Good cases. 1. A. The cat chased the mouse. B. The mouse was chased by the cat. Even though the above two sentences have different syntactic structure, they have essentially identical interpretation. The reason is that the same semantic roles assigned to the noun phrase in both examples. The cat is the agent and the mouse is the patient. Different grammatical uses of verbs may express the same semantic roles in different arrays. 2. A. There still remains an issue to be solved. B. There lived a man with his grandson. C. At the same time, there arrived alone Grace, a tall, red-haired, and incredibly well-dressed man. 3. A. There sang a man with a pipe. B. There dances a man with an umbrella. All the verbs are intransitive, but not all are acceptable in their construction. The difference can confirm the semantic role of the postverbal noun phrase, as assumed by the main verb. Semantic roles. Bad cases. 1. A. John resembles his mother. B. A is similar to B. 2. A. John runs into the house. B. Mary looked at the sky. The subject John is both agent and it is agent since it initiates and sustains the movement, but also theme since it is the object that moves. And also the subject Mary can either be an experiencer or an agent depending on her intention. One can just look at the sky with no purpose at all. Okay, I think it's enough from us. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, you can ask on WhatsApp group. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.